This regular meeting of the Navasota City Council is called to order on Monday, the 9th of December, 2024 in council chambers. Let the record show all council members are present. Welcome and thank you for being here this evening. We ask that you put your cell phones in the silent mode. And a reminder to visitors to please sign in. And if you wish to speak under visitor, please fill out the form found in back, state your name and address at the podium, as we must document all meeting business and remarks limited to 3 minutes. Tonight's invocation will be led by Reverend Matt Cecil of First United Methodist Church in Navasota, and followed by the pledges.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we are before you on this beautiful evening to share in the work of this community, of this city. Lord, we see the decorations around us. We see the trees and the lights and the ornaments and the gifts that are starting to pile up. And it is good, and it is celebration, and it is family, and it is a recognition, Lord, of who you are and what you have done. Lord, you are our Prince of Peace. You have come to provide healing and care and love for this community and all communities. And so we ask your guidance in that tonight as we do your work and moving forward in this city so that we can continue to take care of each other and lift each other up as your people who love and cherish one another. Lord, we seek your blessings in all of this, and we pray all these things in your holy and wonderful name, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. There's that up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Almost like I've done that before. Visitors, none. Staff report. First thing we've got is a proclamation. Proclamation recognizing Charles Coach Wilson. Mayor and City Council would like to recognize Charles Wilson, known to most people in our community as Coach Wilson. Whereas he graduated from Wheatley High School in 1975 and Wiley College in 1980, where he was a member of the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Married the love of his life, Wanda, in 1986, and is a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. Also, devoted coach for Navasota ISD, where he was not only a coach, but a mentor for the youth of our community until he retired after 31 years. Also donated personal time coaching and offering expertise to local youth football programs, including 15 years for Navasota Venom and 15 years for the Grimes County Football League. Still making his mission, goal, and priority to teach our youth the quality and fundamentals of football, along with putting more emphasis on instilling into them the importance of having a quality education and how to become more productive on and off the field. Also a pillar to our community, also a valuable asset to the entire Grimes County Youth Football Association. Now be it proclaimed that I, Burt Miller, Mayor of the City of Navasota, do hereby proclaim citizens of our city to honor Charles Coach Wilson and thank him for his continued dedication and passion for our youth and the many contributions that he has made to our community. I encourage all to use him as an example to inspire us to take time to invest in our youth and empower them to become the best version of themselves. Signed this 9th day of December, 2024. Anyone with Charles not here? Okay.
They were aware of it. I did.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of council, we've got several new employees. I'll let Chief Mize come up first. He's got the most here to
Number 3.
introduce.
Yeah.
Hadley really wants to talk, but. White House Chief of Police. So, we have, been hiring quite a few. Just gonna introduce a couple of them. We are our former hires and they just graduated the academy, so I just want to introduce them as now they're on the patrol side of things. So Anthony Robbins, Officer Robbins, y'all gotta come up here.
Yeah.
Then, Derek Hodge, both of these, guys, prior hires. Robbins, started in October 2022 ACO, and then in June went to the police academy, graduated in October. Hodge started in March 2024, went to the police academy, graduated in October. And then our newest officer, Officer Perales Raven, she graduated same academy in October, and all three of them are currently on FTO phase in patrol division. Three, Corey Mayo, Dean Earls, and Daniel Reyes. These three are police cadets going to the January 2025 Police Academy in Teeks. Academy is about 4 months long, so they will be at the academy, same academy these three went to, and graduating approximately May, June, and then they're going to go to patrol division as well. Then Reyes is a local Navasota, graduated 2007, Navasota High School. Earls is from Burnham, and Mayo is from Milliken area. So they're all local guys. And then our seventh officer, he's a reserve officer, Joseph Merkley. He has 24 years law enforcement experience. He's going to be one of our reserve officers to assist when we need help. So these are the 7 new hires that we recently did. We do have one more. He will come to the next meeting. He's our full-time SRO we hired. So currently, as of now, we only have one position to fill, and we'll be filled up at 31 officers. Photo, buddy.
Mayor and council, next I'm going to have Tiffany Byers come up and introduce the library new employee.
Good evening, Tiffany Byers, Community Services Director. So I'm really excited to introduce our new part-time library clerk. This is Daisy Guapo. You might have seen her if you've been into the library. She started out as a volunteer several months ago. So when we had the position open up, she was the most logical choice, but not only that, our best choice. She is great with our patrons, great with customer service, has that decorating and creativity that we need so badly there. So we're really proud to have her aboard. She's been a great fit to the team.
Next, Jennifer Rain, our Public Works Director, is going to come up and introduce one of her new employees.
Hi, good evening. Jennifer Reyna, Public Works Director. Today I have our newest member of our Utilities Public Works Department, Deontay Abney. He started on the 18th of November. He is our natural gas technician. He is a replacement of a vacant position. So he actually, he's one of the coaches for the football league here, and we had an employee put in a good word for him, and we brought him on, and he's fitting right in. He's a great asset to our Public Works Department.
Jennifer, photo.
Yeah.
So Mayor and Council, we're still struggling on trying to get some more Public Works. So if anybody knows, anybody that wants to go to work for Public Works, we've got quite a bit of positions available. So send them Jennifer's way. The next item, Mayor and Council, as you know, the next council meeting is on December 23rd. Generally, in the past, we've canceled that meeting. And so right now, staff's already prepared everything for the first meeting in January, so there's no need to actually have that meeting. Anything that needed to be on that meeting has been moved to the January meeting. And so we'd like to try to cancel that meeting and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
All right. Any reports from council or from boards and commissions?
Mr. Mayor, there was a meeting of the Board of Adjustments. They approved the side setback for the lot on the northwest corner of Foster and Levi Street. So that was a couple of weeks ago. And then last Thursday, there was a meeting of the very enthusiastic meeting of the Parks and Recreation Board. And they received an update on Bruley Park and the repairs on the pool.
I just would like to thank the city staff and the city employees for a job well done on this past Friday night for the Christmas party.
All right, some things coming up on the 11th of December. That's Wednesday this week, 9 a.m. It's Coffee with the Chamber at Blackberry and Honeysuckle. Also, that same day, the 11th, Planning and Zoning will meet here in Council's Chambers at 6. December 12th at 5:30 at 212 East Washington. That is at the new Zietman's Deli. The Chamber is hosting the Christmas Mixer, and there's quite a list of partners that are with that. Mike Hopkins Distributing, Nerd B, Rush Hour, DJ Slim Goldie, and hosted by Fresh Vision Contractors. Again, that's the 12th at 5:30 to 7. Starting on the 12th is the latest play or latest performance at Navasota Theater Alliance and Inspecting Carol. It's a holiday-themed play. Starts on the 12th, runs through the 22nd of December. And you can get tickets at Navasota Theater Alliance, I believe, .org, I think it is. Saturday, the 14th, Wreaths Across America will be there'll be a presentation at Oakland Cemetery starting, I think, at 11. That's a continuing event for a number of years, and anyone's invited to attend. There'll be quite a large number of wreaths placed on graves of veterans at the cemetery. Also on Saturday, home for the holidays, right? Everything kind of kicks off and you just nod if I'm saying something wrong here, or I can just let you run with it. Okay, Farmers Market kind of kicks everything off, I believe, at 9 o'clock, and that's the library. Photos with Santa, train rides, bounce house, petting zoo, and Santa's Village all will be from 1 to 5, and that's here on the grounds of City Hall. And then at 6 o'clock, we'll have the lighted parade. How many entries we got so far? Oh, that's awesome. Great. Like it'll be as big as ever, if not bigger. And then following the parade will be the lighting of the Christmas tree, and I believe some carols maybe with the high school choir. All right. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Is that good? Okay. The Shop Small giveaway is still going on, and that is where you send in your receipts buying from local merchants. It runs through the 16th of December, and I think there's a prize that'll be drawn for out of all the entries for that, and you get, I think, every $25 you get an entry. Okay, so and there's different ways you can submit your receipts, can bring them here to City Hall in person, or you can email to invest@navasotatx.gov. That's invest@navasotatx.gov. Or you can text it, your receipt and or receipts, to 936-870-5134. 936-870-5134. So get on board and help continue to shop local. And you can also visit the navasotatx.gov, our website, for more information on that. Coming up on the 18th is American Red Cross Blood Drive, again at First United Methodist Church. You can go to redcrossblood.org to make your appointment there. And again, that's on December 18th. That's the last blood drive of 2024.
Mayor, also on December 16th, we're gonna, and council, we're gonna have a special meeting. So that'll be a follow-up to your next agenda item. So there's 2 public hearings. Tonight's the first one and the second one's gonna be on December 16th. So please remember, special meeting on December 16th. So it's only one item on that agenda.
Okay. All right. So we'll, I guess, go back to.
No, that's before number 12.
That's on number 12.
Oh,
Before y'all.
okay. Item 5 is to conduct a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment and testimony regarding the proposed annexation of approximately 9.589 acres of land located in the City of Navasota Industrial District into the corporate limits of the City of Navasota. Land being described as Tract 1, all that's certain 8.31 tract, a parcel of land out of the John Moore League. Abstract number 46 being the same as 8.31 acre tract or parcel described in certain independent executor's deed from Richard Allen Rebase, independent executor of the estate of Eileen H. Rebase, deceased as grantor to Richard Allen Rebase, as grantee recorded in volume 1086, page 666 of the real property records of Grimes County, Texas, located at 9441 Industrial Drive, Navasota, Texas 77868. Tract 2, all that's certain 1.279 acre tract or parcel of land out of the John Moore League. Abstract number 46 being the same as 1.279 acre tract or parcel of land described in that certain special warranty deed from Advanced Hydrocarbon Corporation as grantor to Don Parkerson as grantee, recorded in volume 1675, page 631 of the real property records of Grimes County, Texas, located at 9314 Interstate Drive, Navasota, Texas 77868. And we'll open the hearing at 6:18, and I'll let Mr. Diosdado open with some background.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, good evening. Lupe Diosdado, Development Services Director. Just to briefly summarize, as you mentioned, both of these tracts are located in the City of Navasota's Industrial District. That district was actually formed back in 1979. I was actually just browsing through the old incorporation documents. It's really interesting. Anyway, the point of these 2 annexations is over the last few months, staff has been in negotiations and attempts to enter into an IDA, which is required in the industrial district. Unfortunately, that hasn't been executed successfully, and so the necessary steps is to proceed with the annexation of the 2 subject tracts. Both property owners were notified in accordance with applicable state laws. The next, as Jason mentioned earlier, the next public hearing for the process is on the 16th of December, and then the ordinance officially annexing the property is on January 13th. In your agenda packet, you have a map that's also shown on the screen, as well as the 2 legal descriptions prepared by legal counsel and reviewed by legal counsel. If y'all have any questions, we can answer those.
Would you explain what the IDA stands for and what it entails?
Yes, so the IDA stands for Industrial Development Agreement. It essentially outlines certain special utility rates and applicable municipal services that the city will provide. It also outlines a payment in lieu of property taxes. So Basically, what we've done in the past is a 50%. I think here recently, most of the IDAs, if not all, are 60%. So you pay 60% of in lieu of your property taxes, and versus paying 100% if you're annexed in the city. So utility rates, municipal services, and the fee in lieu of property taxes. And so those things are negotiated, and both parties have to agree, both the property owner and of course the city. And just unfortunately for these two tracks, we have not been able to enter into those agreements.
So council.
And there's been no activity of any sort on those properties, right?
Correct.
Yes,
Mayor and council, we've entered into about 25, nearly 26 agreements for all the surrounding property. These are the two remaining property that have not entered into the IDA. Myself and finance began those conversations back last August, and try to get those IDAs in conversations multiple times, emailed, phone calls, registered, certified mail, turned this over to legal counsel to handle. Legal counsel, same type of process this last year, and no action. And so this is the next step.
And have you had any response at all? I mean, somebody's aware that this is happening?
They're both aware that this is happening. They've been notified by certified mail. I've actually spoken with Mr. Rivas multiple times, and he says one thing and does another. I'll just leave it at that. So he's not been responsive, and he's aware of the date that these hearings are going to occur, and the date that the annexation ordinance is going to be considered by the city council. So they've been non-responsive really in terms of action, both property owners.
So when they're annexed, then they're responsible for paying the city taxes?
100%.
Correct.
100%
Yes,
tax
sir,
rate.
that's correct.
And so I will tell you, so the 8.31 acres conversation that we did have with that property owner, one of the concerns was they didn't want to have any regulations on, you see all the trees that are there. And so we explained to them, well, if you do not want any of that regulation, then you'll enter into the IDA, because once you become in the city limits, if there's any issues out there, tall grass, I mean, it's the same type code enforcement applies as if you lived in the city. And so when you're annexed in, you're technically in the city limits. And so you'd fall under all the code regulations that everybody else follows.
If one of these property would sell and the owner would come back and want to do an IDA,
So council would, at that point, consider de-annexation. So you have that opportunity to de-annex.
No, we're de-annexing now. We could re-annex them.
So we're annexing in now. You can de-annex
Okay,
if someone purchases it. So again, so that could be an economic development tool. So if someone wants to come here as an economic development incentive, is council saying to them, hey, if you'll come here, our portion would be, we'll de-annex and you'll enter into an IDA and it'll reduce your property tax by 40%.
An open hearing, so is anyone here that represents either one of these? Okay, we'll close the hearing at 6:23.
And we will have, another public hearing and potential action on this on the 16th.
So public hearing on the 16th, and action won't happen until January 13th.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That agenda will go out this week for next Monday.
Okay, December 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is next Monday, correct?
Mr. Mayor, I move to annex two tracks.
No, there's no action.
No action.
Oh, I'm
tonight.
sorry.
Public hearing.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we gotta do it.
We're just
I
talking.
read action requested.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say no.
Yeah.
Item 6, conduct a public hearing to consider the advisability of the creation of the Altamira Public Improvement District, PID, to make certain improvements on the property affected, legally described as A0044 Jesse B. McNeely, tract 13-3, 96.618 acres, located State Highway 90 South and FM 3455 within the corporate limits of the city of Navasota. Open this hearing at 6:25.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, just a brief background on this property. This subject tract was annexed in May of 2023, so late spring last year. The following two items are directly related to this. So one is the resolution making findings. The other is actually approving the creation of the PID. Staff worked with legal counsel on those and got those all buttoned up, make sure they checked all the legal boxes. And so part of that process, of course, is the public hearing. An ad was published in the paper, as well as the necessary legal notices to the property owner, which in this instance is just one for Altamira. And so again, a brief background. So the purpose of the PID really is just to assist developments with public infrastructure costs or any kind of development costs. Through the PID, the developer will recover certain costs reimbursed via an assessment on each lot. It's very similar to a MUD. The difference is with a PID, there's not an independent board or separate electorate. It's all through the city council. So any assessment of those future lots or future improvements, everything has to basically come through council for final approval. And the developer will be reimbursed on an annual basis for those assessments as the lots come online, as those homes are sold by the property owners. And we'll go into that a bit here next. So again, it's Altamira. It's a mixed-use planned unit development. Actually, planning and zoning will consider the rezoning on Wednesday, creating that PUD potentially. And the property is located right across the street from Caltalk. So it's a little bit outside of town, but it is in the city limits now. Acreage is 96, and the proposed is an estimated 380-ish lots. Total cost of public infrastructure that the developer is seeking to get reimbursement through the PID is a little over, pretty much at 13 million. There is a draft or a proposed amortization schedule in your agenda item that shows you just kind of like a sample of what that looks like for a home that's 270,000. And it equates to about 1,350 per lot for the course of 20 years. Now that is an assessment, and so it doesn't grow or decrease with different fluctuations in property values. It's essentially a lump sum that is, slowly paid off over the years. And if somebody came in on day 2 after purchasing their home and paid it all off on day 2, it would go away. So it does have an end date after roughly about 20 years if they pay the monthly payments. The other thing that, really comes with that development with the PID overall is, of course, on this property, the city is proposing to do a new water tower, water well, and water plant. And of course, with that comes aid and infrastructure development on the east side of Navasota. That'll open up a whole nother area for development to serve water and other utilities. So, of course, the water tower has other benefits, but that's really the key driver. Another big component of this project is the current layout and the proposed development includes an 80-foot right-of-way running basically right through the middle of it. And it's really setting us up for a one-day connection to Highway 105 from 90. It's an 80-foot right-of-way, so that's a really wide right-of-way to allow for future, even some additional lanes if possible in the future. And so again, those are just added benefits of the development overall. With that, it does come with a disclosure, right? So when you buy a home in this subdivision, if approved, you'll have a big disclosure notice that lets you know that there's going to be a 4th line item, right, on your tax bill. It'll be county, school, city, and the PID tax or the assessment. And if the PID is approved tonight, there is some action items to clean up after. City council has to approve a service and assessment plan, approve those assessment roles. How much is each lot going to have an assessment? There's also a PID development agreement that has to be drafted between the developer and the council, and that all comes back to this board for approval. I do know that Chandler Arden, the developer owner, he's here tonight to answer any questions, as well as Scott Bean with Hawes Hills. They've been the consultants helping us through this process, going through all the legal tick marks, in accordance with our legal counsel too. If y'all have any questions about the PID in general or the project overall.
You said that we do have a representative here tonight.
Yes, sir. Mr. Arden?
Yeah.
I have a question. Whose money are we playing with?
This guy's right here.
I'm Chandler Arden. I'm the developer, actually. Project manager is probably a better description of what I do. I am one of the owners, but the other owners that are not here tonight is actually Reese Development. Brian Reese, he's a local from Bryan, Texas. He builds under two products. One is Reese Custom Homes in Bryan, College Station, and also Avonlea Homes, which is what he plans on building here in Navasota. The other builder investor is Stylecraft. And this LLC, they're actually Rainier, but it's Stylecraft that'll be building. And they'll split those lots evenly, is at least the initial idea. And so on the PID, whose money are we playing with? The answer is the developer fronts all the money to build this thing. We're not asking for any money from the city on the PID. We build it. When we looked at the little history is that we looked at the property. We knew it was outside of the city limits, but in the ETJ. And we did think about doing a mud over there actually, but the big problem is sewer and water. And after we figured out that'd be pretty difficult to deal with in a mud on 96 acres, we approached the city. We approached consultant, Oz Hill. They're here tonight and they can better answer your questions than I can. But we put this deal together and working with Jason and Lupe and Jennifer, things kind of happened. And so we're excited to do it. The money that we're talking about on the PID is an assessment on the home buyer, which they will know about before they even buy a home. And so, like Lupe said, that assessment has an end date. If they choose to pay that $17,000 up front, they sure can. If they want to pay it with their house payment over 20 or 25 years, they can do that too. The next home buyer will also be aware of that PID as well, should the first home buyer not pay it off. And God, correct me if I'm wrong, but it could be a point of negotiation of the purchase of the home. If they're close to paying it off, well, why not have the seller pay it off or whatever? There's multiple iterations there. But what it does is make this project viable for us to build the infrastructure and provide a nice place for people to live while keeping the home prices reasonable. And we are really focused on trying to get something that's in that 270,000 range on average. I know over time, we estimate that the project will take 8 to 10 years to build out. Of course, the home prices will go up, but at least we want to start off with something that's around $270,000 to do that. And so the home buyer in this case will notice that in their monthly payment. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much, in other words, you would be, as a developer, would be providing the money for the startup.
Correct. In the case of the PID, we're not asking for any money. I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but we're also in the TERS. And so there is some benefit to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in our case, we think, gosh, why not work with the city? We've got the TERS. We can do some infrastructure improvements there. They're considering the PID. Why do a MUD? It works out really well for us.
is it better for you to add this, tax instead of just adding that price into the sale of the property?
Yes. It all comes down to monthly payment and getting into that house. And so if we didn't do that, the average home price would probably go up that $17,000 to $20,000. And that's prohibitive to a lot of people that are trying to get into what we call now a starter home. So they're coming up with more cash to get into that home, whereas over 20 years, they can kind of spread it out a little bit.
Are there any examples of the PIDs in the Bryan College Station area?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Wondering how successful they're being.
Can I let,
Yeah, so Scott, you deal with this all the time, so why don't you answer some of those for the kids?
I'm not familiar with, Mayor and Council, I'm not familiar with Bryan College Station PIDs, but we have, for instance, Tin and Tomball, and they've been very successful. This is what's called a cash flow PID, which means the developer is the one that's holding the note, and he's on the hook for the reimbursement. There's no municipal debt issued. So he puts in infrastructure at his cost, and then if the homes get sold, lots get developed, homes get sold, he gets paid back. If something goes wrong, if it goes slow, he just gets paid back a lot slower. And he accrues a lot of interest on that money that he's never going to recover. So the developer is the one toting the note, so to speak, in a cash flow PID. Yes, sir.
I have a question, and maybe it's a rhetorical question. We've had some suggestions of having a requirement put on the builder at various times and for various things, and usually for a relatively small amount. And we've received feedback on it that the builders and the developers wouldn't stand for any increase in the cost of the property type thing. It was hard enough to sell them as it was, and to add $1,000 or a couple $1,000 more dollars to it, it's just going to make it that much more difficult. Now all of a sudden we're adding $17,000 to it, and I just wonder about is the philosophy screwed up, or like I said, maybe this is just a rhetorical question.
maybe rhetorical. No, I think in this case, the difference is, again, just being able to pay that assessment out over time. Anything that we add on upfront to a lot, the biggest adjustment for us coming over here was concrete streets. I mainly work in Bryan, and we have asphalt. So it's a significant cost difference. And so the difference per lot on something like that is what we think about as a developer, that maybe I can sell that same lot in Bryan for $60,000, and over here I have to sell it for $65,000 because I've got to deal with concrete roads. The spread's probably not quite that much, but we also multiply that lot price by 5 typically. And so in Bryan, maybe on asphalt roads, I can sell that house for $300,000. I've added another 5. And so over here it's $330,000 or something like that. And so that's that kind of multiplying effect of every time we add something to the cost, especially on the development side, because you start with the dirt, it just adds, it seems like, more and more cost up front that makes it more difficult for that buyer to attain a home.
I think one of the other things we've heard, not only from Chandler as the developer, from other developers, other costs besides the concrete, which I think, Council, you're very familiar with. Doing concrete reduces the amount of maintenance on our public works currently right now that we're having experience throughout town. So that's an added benefit. The other part on additional cost is related to natural gas. So I know that developers in the College Station Bryan area, that's not a requirement. I would tell you the builders, it's not something they prefer either, but it's something that we require. since we provide that utility. And so that is an additional cost as well that I know Chandler's gonna not want to say anything about it, but that, because he knows where we stand on it, but that's an additional cost too, that you need to be aware of.
And if somebody doesn't pay, or somebody claims that they're unaware that this was something they were gonna have to take care of, that becomes y'all's responsibility to figure out, not the city's.
Correct. So if they claim they weren't notified, we'll just go pull the notice to purchasers from the closing documents. And that has happened a couple of times. And you just show it to them, they go, oh, yeah, I did sign that. But hopefully the builders do a good job of disclosing it. But there are going to be 2 notice to purchasers that are going to be required. If someone doesn't pay an annual assessment, they're subject to penalties and interest, just like unpaid taxes. And if they keep going for a number of years, if the house gets sold, does get cured at closing. There's never been a foreclosure that I've been involved in for non-payment of PID, assessments. I assume that the school district or the city or somebody else would get to them first. So Lupe did a really good job describing it, though. It's a set amount. It's disclosed up front. It never increases, amortizes for 20 years, just like a home mortgage. So that they're not going to be in for any surprises. And once the notices are given to them, explained, they normally have no problem with it through the years because it's exactly what they were told. So,
That's in the closing documents.
yes, sir, it is.
The sale of the home.
That's correct. And as Lupe said, there's 2 more steps in the process that are subject to city council approval. So this all has to come back again and to make sure that everything that we're telling you tonight is exactly how it's going to be assessed on the lots.
So just thinking as a former HOA president, I've had people say to me, no, we weren't aware, and they didn't actually get the documents at closing. And so then it becomes, well, whose responsibility is it to collect? So just,
no, I mean,
Well, it would be on their tax bill.
It'll be on their tax
So
bill.
that's
all
the
the
difference,
collection.
and that's why I'm saying it becomes
Yeah.
not really the
The-
city's responsibility.
I've been told the remedy is they don't get out of it if they weren't notified. They just have, some remedy for it. But typically, they're going to be aware. It's going to be in the documents, and if it has to be pulled out of the chain of title or through the closing documents and presented to them, that's the way to handle it. The Texas Real Estate Council now requires a second notice, so that's an improvement as well. So.
The collection of it becomes a problem for the tax collector.
Well, it's billed on the county tax bill, so you can't just mark it out and pay the balance. You're in arrears on everything.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will close the hearing at 6:43. Oh, yes, sir. Sure. State your name and address.
Todd Wisner, 416 Holland Street. Based off some stuff from the packet download, I just have questions, which probably these gentlemen will answer better than you. The resident experts, right? To Bernie's question about the addition and the answers from the gentleman, the example that we got was with a 4.5% interest rate that's being amortized. I don't know where that number comes from, but as long as that rate is less than their homeowner rate, they're always going to be paying less if they're doing this than if it was built in to begin with. So not only are they saving $27,000 up front on the property, right, by paying $112 a month, their interest rate on that $17,000 or is going to be less. So it makes sense from an owner standpoint. When it comes to recouping the money, there's some numbers in here that come up. if I look at the petition for the creation of the PID, it says that the estimated cost of the proposed public improvements is just shy of $13 million. If this is being shared across the properties, and those properties are 383 units, 383 units that are paying back the 17,000 is like 6.7 million. So he's obviously not recuperating the total based off of this. So I just wonder, are these numbers valid for the argument? And if they are, is the 52% recuperation from the investment of infrastructure from the developer, is that a standard sort of number for a PID? You know, is Tomball getting 52% back, or are the guys in Tomball getting 30% back, or are they getting 85% back? I think that's a number council ought to understand before we ask for our new residents to take on these sorts of things. Another question I have is in section 7 of the petition, it talks about management of the district. I'm not exactly sure what management year is. And then in the actual resolution in section 6A, wait, I get in front of myself. So with the management question and section 7, if you look at the agenda item, there's a line that says city administrative fee and management fee will be assessed and added to the annual payment. How exactly does that work? And how does it go if it's being managed by the tax assessor and put on that bill? How is the city administrative and management fee being assessed and added to that? And the question is, if these people have a set number, they're going to pay $17,350 or whatever over 20 years. I don't see a city management fee being a flat rate for 20 years. If the city's doing something and we have labor involved, that seems like that's going to go up. So how does that encounter into this? 6A in the resolution has language. The proposed methods of assessments are the assessment for the public improvements is proposed to be value, lot, or according to the square footage of property without regard to improvements on the property. I'm not a real estate guy, but I think that improvements of the property means the actual home and the structure. So what's the difference between lot and according to the square footage of property? It seems to me the lot and the square footage of the property are the same thing. So why does this language have them broken into different things? And the other question I have is the PUD that is going to be looked at on Wednesday evening is written that there are potential duplex, triplex, or fourplexes put into this PUD. And I understand that one house to another, if you've got a 6,000-foot lot and you've got a 4,500-foot lot, you still have 37 feet of gas line coming in and 50 feet of sewer line going out, so that would be the same. But how has that changed over the development of something that might be a duplex? Is it by the lot, in which case you've got twice as much plumbing going in and infrastructure versus a single home? So that seems like something that needs to be discussed. And the other thing is there's commercial properties built into this PUD. And what's the commercial property paying as well? If it's done by lot size and it's done by a 5,000 square foot lot that's paying $17,000 over the 20 years, then if the commercial property out on the corner is a 50,000 foot lot, then they ought to be paying 10 times what the other lot is, not done by lot, but done by dimensions of lot. And this doesn't seem to be in this, what I'm reading today. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all want me to leave any later?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I kept track of everything. So great questions, by the way. The 17,560 initial assessment is the principal amount of the assessment, and then it's payable over 20 years at 4.5% interest. So the total payments will actually be 27,000 if everybody pays it over 20 years. So 27,000 multiplied by 383 lots is, you get right. 10,341,000, and then we added a 25% contingency to the petition to make sure we didn't go under. So that's how we arrived at the 12.9 million. But the actual assessment is going to be, the total cash flow that we project is 10,341,000. So does that answer that question?
Yeah, that answers the question. You're out of luck, right?
Well, he gets all his money back quicker. He just doesn't get any interest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
I got it.
and we do have prepays from time to time in other districts. So, yeah, developer just gets their money back quicker. So,
You want to address the commercial piece up there?
Yeah,
Because that's where the commercial piece, my understanding is where we factored in the duplex. So everything, there are 383 single-family lots, but the two parcels that are front 105,
11 and 13.
Highway 90.
13, phase 12 and 13 that are out on the street.
Yes, I think that's it. Isn't that right, Chandler?
So the commercial property in the PID in the subdivision will not be assessed by the PID. It's only residential lots. And the management fee is typically what we put in there is 5% of the cash flow. We'll do it up front when we levy the initial assessment through city council. And then that 5% can cover city costs. It can cover the private management costs like my company. And what we do is we do the roll every year as the homes come on and send it to the tax assessor. And then we get calls from real estate agents, title companies, property owners saying, what's my payoff? And we have to produce a statement saying you've paid 5 years. Here's the remaining balance you have on the PID. And that's what that covers. That way the city staff doesn't have to handle it.
And there's also continuing disclosures that are required throughout every year for the annual audit, which that information.
So, and just to give everyone comfort, the way this will be structured is the total assessment is going to be levied on every lot in advance. And the collection method will be prescribed in the service and assessment plan. So the numbers will never change. That homeowner is going to pay $1,350 plus the 5% administrative fee every year for 20 years. There's no need to come back to council. We're not increasing anything. We're not decreasing anything. It's just a matter of going and collecting it once it's been approved by council. So.
And the 5% is 5% of what?
The $1,350, take 5% of the annual payment, and that'll be tacked on separately. So $67.
A year.
The method of assessment that you referenced, the per lot, the per square foot, the value, that's just the kitchen sink method. We're proposing to do it by lot. It's cleaner, but we have done PIDs where we do it by square foot of lot. That way the bigger lots pay more, smaller lots pay less, but it gets messy and it's just easier just to levy it equally per lot. So, but you want to leave it open because it's up to council how it's levied. So.
Thanks.
Any others? Anyone else? Can you close the hearing at 6:53?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm going to get myself in.
Reopen it.
Okay, so thank you. I think overall, the tax rate that the homeowner in Altamira will pay would be less than any other MUD, probably nearby.
Way less.
And so I think that's definitely worth thinking about, is that I think the tax rate in Altamira, my kind of city tax, if you will, would be about 75 cents. Is that correct? 50 cents? Okay, and so the developer would get back about 75 cents with the TERS included. And so about $1 that the homeowner is going to pay total between the PID and the city tax, which will be lower than any MUD. Altamira neighborhood will have city services, fire, police, water, gas, all those things, which is, I think, a big plus. And a nice neighborhood. More to come on Wednesday. Thank you.
We close the hearing at 6:55. Item 7, consideration and possible action on resolution 781-24, making findings in connection with the proposed Altamira Public Improvement District PID related to the advisability of the improvements, the nature of the improvements, the estimated cost of the improvements, the boundaries of the proposed district, the method of assessment, and the apportionment of cost between the district and the city as a whole, and making other findings related to the district.
Mayor, I'd like to motion, we approve resolution 781-24, making the findings in connection with the proposed Altamira Public Improvement District related to the advisability of improvements, the nature of improvements, the estimated cost of improvements, the boundaries of the proposed district, method of assessment, and apportionment of cost between the district and the city as a whole, and making other findings related to the district.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Gester to approve resolution 781-24. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Consideration and possible action on resolution 782-24, authorizing the establishment of Altamira Public Improvement District, or PID, in the city of Navasota, authorizing publication of this resolution, providing for the preparation of a service and assessment plan, and making other provisions related to the subject.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution 782-24.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fultz, second by Mr. Stevens to approve resolution 782-24. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 9, consideration and possible action regarding a contract with Teal Services LLC for the purchase and installation of the digester blower at the City of Navasota wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $123,070 pursuant to sections 252.022A2 and 252.022A3 as a procurement. Number 1, necessary to preserve and protect the public health and safety of the city's residents, and 2, because of unforeseen damage to the city's machinery and equipment.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jennifer Reyna, Public Works Director. Last year, the city's wastewater treatment plant experienced a failure to both blowers for the sludge digesters, which were vital for the plant's operation. One of the air blowers have been replaced, and so we are going to be proposing to replace the second one. This second one has been budgeted in this fiscal year. So Teal is here for any technical questions if you have any, but this is going to replace the second blower for the.
We only have 2, right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
We only have 2. Teal Services is familiar with our wastewater treatment plant. They have completed other projects for the city as well. And again, I have Chad here with Teal if you have any questions.
Yeah, can you just explain to us what this blower does?
I will have Chad explain that. I can give you that it keeps the bugs happy. There we go.
I'm Chad Smith, Teal Services. So basically, you guys currently have one blower in operation for the digester. Typically, one is in operation all the time. The second's for backup, and then the operator can switch to amount of hours runtime on each. So it provides air to the unused solids for the wastewater plant. So your operator every now and then waste to this digester basin. And while it's in this basin, it needs to be aerated. And that's what these do. They provide air for that.
And the old ones were how old? The ones that we recently
I-
replaced?
I believe they were installed in 1994.
What's the average life of them?
I'm sorry?
What's the average life of them?
You got your money's worth.
Okay.
Figured that was
That's what I wanted to know.
One of them will be in operation continuously. I mean, it runs all the time. So, yeah. Average, I would say 18 to 20 years.
And I suppose there's maintenance that you do
That's
on
correct.
on a, I guess, annual or semi-annual basis.
Yeah.
There was something in here, and I don't find it right now, about these, it almost looks like they operated in tandem or something like that. They kind of matched pairs or something.
For the digester, not necessarily. It's usually the size of basin you have only would require one to be in operation at a time. You may be referring to the rotors on the aeration basin. Those do work in tandem. There's three currently there. Well, there's two currently there. There should be three, and that would allow the operator to take one out of service to, minimize the hours to run time.
Okay.
I've got a question just for knowledge. Say we have two, one is operating. If the one that we have right now operating stops, what would happen?
Well, you have SCADA, which can be remotely monitored. So if there was a fault, the operator would get a notification saying there was a problem. Then he could remotely start the second backup blower to take over.
But if we don't have a backup right now?
You don't have it.
We had to rent air, compressors.
Right. Yeah, they had a temporary trailer mounted compressor there plumbed in just to get by.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess if this air doesn't hit it, we've got a smell.
Exactly right. That will turn septic.
Why is it such a long lead time? Do these things have to be just totally manufactured from scratch?
They are manufactured. Lone Star Blower out of Houston or Pasadena manufactures them. I wish I had a good answer for that, but we have numerous projects we're waiting on equipment on, and it's just getting worse and worse. Fortunately, this style, centrifugal, they usually can produce quicker than a turbo or some other, type. So I would say if we ordered it now, within 20 to 24 weeks, we could have it. Yeah.
Is there any way to speed that process up?
I could try. Yeah, I could definitely try. We'll have everything we can do, piping wise, electrical wise, completed before, beforehand. That way, when the blower does show up, it's put it in and get it started up.
I move we award a contract with Teal Services LLC for the purchase and installation of the digester blower at the City of Navasota wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $123,070 pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 252.02282 and 252.02283 as a procurement necessary to preserve and protect public health and safety of the city residents, and two, because of unforeseen damage to city's machinery and equipment.
Second.
On an expedited basis if possible.
Second.
Motion, second by Mr. Gessner. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 11, consideration of possible action regarding the contract with Blau Engineering for professional services in the amount of $50,000.
Nope, 10.
No,
Whoa,
One more.
I'm sorry.
one.
Thought I just did 10, but obviously no. Got it. This is the rotor. Okay. Consideration of possible action regarding the contract with Teal Services LLC for the repair of one aeration rotor at the City of Navasota wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $77,278 pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 252.022A2 and 252.022A3 as a procurement necessary to preserve and protect public health and safety of city residents, and 2, because of unforeseen damage to the city's machinery and equipment.
Jennifer Reyna, Public Works Director. At the wastewater treatment plant, spinning rotors stir the water and air and add air to the treatment process, which is essential for compliance with state regulations. During the maintenance, it was discovered that the main steel tube on one of the rotors were bent and misangled, requiring its replacement before the rotor can be returned into service, avoiding damaging supporting equipment. This issue arose after the 24-25 budget was developed, so it's not budgeted for. Public Works plans to use the funds from the racetrack dredging project to cover the cost, with dredging to be completed in the future budget. Again, Teal Services, a contractor who has completed previous projects at the plant, is familiar with equipment and is recommended for the contract to be repaired on the rotor for $77,278. So it's the tube that holds the spinning rotors in place. That is bent and out of line. So again, Chad is here. We do have 2 out of the 3 in service.
Yeah, you do have two out of 3 in service. This particular one was taken out of the plant a couple of years ago, set to the side. The torque tube is the tube. It's kind of like a paddle on a paddle boat. All these blades attached to it rotates, and that's how it aerates the basin, keeps everything moving. After we reinstalled it with the new reducers and the bearings, that's when it was found that it was bent and out of alignment. And unfortunately, there's no way to straighten that but to replace it.
Any idea what caused it?
We really don't. We've worked on many of these in the past, and I've never seen one bent. So I have no idea how that, I don't know if it possibly during, operation or maintenance at one point, but I don't have an answer to that.
And how long has this been out of commission?
I think this one's been out for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So we've been limping along with 2.
That's correct.
How big is this road? How big is it?
It's 26 foot long, about 60 inches in diameter.
This helps. with
Gotta
the
go on the
sludge
line
volume,
board
correct?
and all that other.
This aerates.
Okay.
Yeah, the digester on the previous blower we were talking about, that's actually a centrifugal that forces air. This is actual paddle wheel that's on top of the surface, and it rotates and spins, and that's what keeps the aerated in the aeration lagoon.
We have any other parts on that equipment that have been out for 2 or 3 years?
No, everything else associated with this rotor has been replaced. It's new bearings, new gears, everything else is brand new. So this torque tube is the last major item, and then you'll have essentially a brand new rotor.
I think this was part of the CIP
Yes.
for this wastewater.
Mm-hmm. All the other components were.
So we have 3 and 1 is not working,
That's correct.
and it's not been working for 2 years,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
and it's not in this year's budget.
No, sir, that's correct. It is not in this year's budget. So we were gonna use the funding that we were gonna use for the dredging at the wastewater treatment plant. So we're gonna use those funds for replacing, or repairing this rotor.
And those funds, we have enough funds in there to cover this?
That's correct, yes, sir. So we budgeted 125,000 for dredging. We're gonna use that. So we'll go and rebudget the dredging again, another budget process. So this will be enough to cover it. Yes, sir.
There's not a huge issue with not doing the dredging now?
No, sir. No, our sludge volume has gone down, so.
Yeah, with the project a few years ago with the new headworks, that really
That
helped.
alleviated some of it.
That's right.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And this will keep those three from having to work so hard, I'm guessing?
Yeah, once there's three in place, the operator can take one out of sequence and rotate them.
Oh, so two runs at all the
Two at a time.
And then we just have one for spare?
That's correct.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we award a contract with Teal Services LLC for the repair of one aeration rotor at the City of Navasota wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $77,278 pursuant to Texas Local Government Code Sections 252.022A2 and 252.022A3 as a procurement necessary to preserve and protect the public health and safety of the city's residents and because of unforeseen damage to the city's machinery and equipment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gessler, second by Mr. Fultz to approve the contract with Teal Services for the repair of one rotor, the amount of $77,278. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 11, consideration and possible action regarding a contract with Blau Engineering for professional services in the amount of $50,000 in relation to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant, Mitigation Method of Distribution, CDBG MIT Mod Grant.
Yes, sir. The city of Navasota received a grant of $996,400 from the disaster relief from Hurricane Harvey. But those funds cannot be covered by the project design costs. So we have already budgeted in $75,000 on a different grant match that won't be awarded this year. So we're going to use the $50,000 to design for design with Blau. So Blau is going to, we would like to have Blau design for this project. And this will involve replacing utility lines and repairing roads along Foster Street and Louise Street. So it's almost the same thing as what we did with the CIP on the Old Town with the the utilities. Is it all water and sewer, Zach? Water and in street for Louise and Foster.
So Mayor and Council, back when we first started the large CIP project, meeting with Blau and public management, we were looking at where we could actually use these grant funds for. There's requirements that this has to be within the LMI, low to moderate income area. And so working with public management went out and with staff, and we knocked on door to door to do the inquiries and surveys that are needed to identify LMI. And so we were able to shift these projects. These projects were identified on the major CIP project as projects need to be done. And so we moved funding around so to allow the grant funds to be able to shift over for this project. So we know that some residents were worried that these areas were not being covered in the large CIP project. And the specific reason was because we had to use grant funds that could support LMI, and the LMI was not available for what we call Midtown area. And so shifting these grant funds over to this location is what we're doing this project for. And as Mr. Raines said, talked about, we need to fund the design portion of it, which is not covered through the grant funds. And we are using funds that we have already budgeted for another grant, which we've already been told last month that we're not going to be able to get this year, using those matching funds for this project.
Jennifer, on this, Louise and Malcolm Street, that's on the west end of town over here.
Louise and Foster is going to be where 379 is. It's going to be on the east side of 379.
Left-hand side.
So closer to the water plant,
Okay.
Entergy area back there.
So are you saying that those streets back there that's undeveloped is going to be developed now?
No, sir. No, sir. It's just the current streets and utilities that are in place that we'll have.
Okay.
And I also have Zach Woodstrand here if you have any questions with, Blau, excuse me. I'm sorry, Zach.
So if you have any technical questions,
That page 65 has got the
that can help you on
the
that.
drawing there showing.
We need the project being completed in design and out for bid. Or how does that process work in the grant?
So there's a lot of, good evening, Mayor and Council, Zachary Bochon, Blau Engineering. So we have to go through the whole process of project management or public management. They'll file paperwork with the GLO who's running this project. They're the ones that appropriated the funds. And then they have to do a lot of paperwork to release the funds. That usually takes several months. Once we get to that point, we can begin our design. Design will probably take a month or two, I'd guess. And then at that point, it usually takes an additional month to award. I would say we're probably looking at summer of next year, assuming everything starts rolling. Summer of next year, we'll be out to bid and award and start.
Not that it really matters, I guess, but are the same records that we had for the Midtown, Old Town section, the same records that you would be using to identify what needs to be replaced over there?
We'll use it, but we'll do a lot of plan review and
So between that project, the capital improvement project, and this one, there was a lot of older documents that were found upstairs, and those will help us greatly in getting more accurate records of what's existing out there. Then we'll hopefully go a little more smoother than the CIP.
So there are some records that are there.
Yes, they were hidden away, but they've now been found.
We did some work on Foster. It's been a few years back.
Yeah, but this isn't
that was
Foster,
on the,
Foster on the,
Right.
the east end of it,
right, the east end of it,
between,
is where we're gonna be making repairs.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we award a contract to Blau Engineering for professional services in the amount of $50,000 in relation to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Community Development Block Grant Mitigation Method of Distribution.
Second.
I said it first, but it was.
Okay, all right. Motion by Mr. Gessner, second by Mr. Foltz to approve, item number 11, which is the contract with Blau Engineering for professional services in the amount of $50,000 for the CDBG MOD grant. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? See none, item carries. Item 12, executive session. City council shall meet in executive session as permitted by section 551.071 Texas Government Code. Consultation with attorney, consultation with legal counsel regarding legal issues concerning contract with Green Dream International LLC for the Downtown Revitalization Program, West Washington Avenue to 8th Street and 10th Street, associated matters. Petition received from Shed Holdings LLC requesting 1.893 acres of land located at 3297 State Highway 105 West, Navasota, Texas, to be released from the city's ETJ pursuant to Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 42.101, and associated matters. City of Navasota water and sewer utility service areas, including but not limited to PUC of Texas docket 54806 regarding G&W Water Supply Corporation and associated matters, and shall meet in executive session as permitted by Section 551.074 Texas Government Code Personnel Matters for the purpose of discussion and deliberations regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, duties, and/or dismissal of the city manager.
Mayor, before you convene into executive session, we had one remarks of visitors that wanted number 12.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, so, okay. Mac Vaughn,
which one?
Mhm.
Mac Vaughn, 402 Teague Street. I just wanted to make a few comments, and after seeing the executive session and all that's kind of on the plate, it just reinforces what I want to say. You know, Mary was traveling with a baby, and she needed a place to stay, and there was no room at the inn. I just want to encourage each of us this time of year to open our hearts and allow God to reside in our hearts. It will affect our attitude. It will affect everything that we make decisions on. It will affect our forgiveness for other people who have wronged us. But don't let the season go by. It's Christmas, and it's about Christ. And we need to keep that ever in the forefront of what we're doing. The other thing I wanted to say, we have a lot of changes coming down. And with the right attitude, we keep our vision, we keep our core values, then we're going to have opportunities that are going to be great, grand, and glorious for, I think, Navasota and Grimes County. I don't want to discount. I don't want Jason to leave. I thought I was going to write a big dossier of some sort and really lambast him. I still can. I can ad-lib, can I? But Jason, I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate the way you've stayed the course. Some love you, some don't, but that's life. What can I say? And just want to wish you the very best in your next assignment and say thank you for the job that you've done for each and every one of us. Just stay the course. Stay the course.
State the time to go in executive session at 7:23. We'll reconvene in open session at 9:08 p.m. Item 14, consideration and possible action regarding contract with Green Dream International LLC for the Downtown Revitalization Program, West Washington Avenue, 8th Street, 10th Street, and associated matters.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city manager be authorized to negotiate and approve and execute all necessary documentation as discussed in the executive session to settle and resolve the ongoing contract dispute with Green Dream International LLC concerning downtown revitalization program on West Washington Avenue, 8th Street to 10th Street.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Fultz to authorize city manager to
Yeah, what he.
Do all that.
That, as motion was stated. Is that good enough? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 15, consideration of possible action regarding petition received from Shed Holdings LLC requesting that 1.893 acres of land located at 3297 State Highway 105 West be released from the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ, pursuant to Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 42.101, and associated matters.
Mr. Mayor, I move that Shed Holdings LLC petition to remove property from the extraterritorial jurisdiction be denied because of Senate Bill 2038 in an unconstitutional delegation of legislative authority, and it conflicts with the city's grant of discretionary legislative authority in the Texas Local Government Code, Section 42.023. The city does not consent to the reduction of its ETJ.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Gessner for the motion as stated of denial. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 16, consideration of possible action regarding the City of Navasota water and sewer utility service areas, including but not limited to the PUC of Texas docket number 54806, reference G&W Water Supply Corporation and associated matters.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city manager be authorized to negotiate, approve, and execute all necessary documentation as discussed in executive session to settle and resolve ongoing dispute with G&W Water Supply Corporation concerning the provision of water and wastewater utility services, CCN service areas, and associated issues.
Second. Motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Fultz, to proceed with the motion as stated. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. Item 17, consideration of possible action regarding appointment, employment, evaluation duties, and/or dismissal of the city manager.
Mr. Mayor, I move that Mayor Miller be authorized to negotiate, approve, and execute a contract with Clear Career Professionals to assist the city with its recruitment of a new city manager.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Fultz to proceed as motion stated. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. That being the last item, we're adjourned.